Still you gave your My mama told me something when I was growing up that has forever changed my life. She played the piano at our little church at 3rd and Pine Street for 37 years. She tried to teach me to play the piano, but I wasn't very good. She would teach me the names of the notes, what a major key is, what a minor key is. She tried to teach me musical theory, but I was just bored. Then, one day, she told me that the best news in the world is found by playing a simple scale on the piano. I had no idea what she meant, so she told me to play an 8 note scale. So I did. I said, "How is that good news?" And she said I played it incorrectly and that I needed to play it the other way. So I did. Again, I said, "How is that good news?" And she said, "I played it the right way, but I needed to add the pauses." The pauses? She said, "The pauses. Add them on the first, second, fourth, sixth, seventh, and last note." Now, I was frustrated and said, "How can 8 notes with random pauses be the best news in the world?" Then I got up, walked away, and went outside. Frankly, I didn't care what she was talking about. I didn't like playing the piano anyway. Well, years later, my mama got sick and passed away. As I was thinking about her, I remembered what she told me about the piano. Not only that, I still remember the notes she told me to pause. The first, second, fourth, sixth, seventh, and last note. So I sat down at her piano and played the scale with the pauses. And that's when I realized the good news she was talking about.
Good morning and welcome to our carol service here at Chester Road Baptist Church, at least the first of today's. You are so welcome. My name is Danny Briley. I'm the minister here at the church, and if you are here for the first time, either in the room or at home watching us online, then we are so honoured that you've chosen to spend your morning here with us. We're going to sing some really classic carols. We're going to hear from our community choir, and we're going to get into the Christmas spirit, understanding how this story from 2,000 years ago makes all the difference to us here today. Looking around, I see so many of you are wearing masks, and we really appreciate that. It helps other people to feel safe and sound here. So please keep your masks on unless you are exempt from doing so. The best way to get into a carol service is to throw yourself into it. And so when the carols come up, if you feel able to, stand to your feet, join in. If you're at home, get up on your feet and just belt them out. And that way, all that Christmas spirit comes rushing through your body out to us today. We're going to hear, though, our first reading.
Our first reading is from Isaiah chapter 9, reading verses 1 to 2 and 6 and 7. Nevertheless, there will be no more gloom for those who were in distress. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light is dawned. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from the time and on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this.
Hey, welcome. I'm the Christmas search engine, and I can help you find anything related to
DIY Christmas decorations.
Okay. Let's jump right in. Here we go.
What date Christmas this year?
December 25th.
What date Christmas next year?
December 25th?
Song that goes.
I think I know what you're looking for.
How cook ham?
Okay.
How cook ham fast? Ham flamethrower recipe.
Wait, what?
Christmas present mom.
Nice.
Cheap.
Nice.
What date Christmas 2035?
Are you serious?
Is Santa Claus real?
You should maybe ask your parents about that.
Gift wrap bowling ball.
Please be careful.
Custom dog Christmas.
Sorry, what?
Christmas dog custom cute.
Oh, you mean costume?
Christmas dog costume cute.
Gift wrap accordion.
That's gonna be tricky.
Can I drink expired eggnog?
No.
What happens if drank expired eggnog?
Why'd you even ask me in the first place?
Dealing with relatives.
Okay.
Dealing with nosy relatives.
Well.
Dealing with my nosy, overbearing relatives who won't stay out of my business. Sorry.
Yeah, it's pretty much all the same stuff.
Gift wrap a saddle.
Who are you buying this stuff for?
Santa Claus riding a unicorn. Santa Claus riding a unicorn socks.
Is that a thing?
Search it up.
Oh, wow. Here they are.
Take my money.
I wonder what it is that you are searching for this Christmas. Maybe you've been searching for that perfect Christmas gift. You know, the lateral flow test gift set that's all neatly wrapped. Oh, wouldn't it be just joyful to open that one? Maybe it's a transparent face mask, which of course I am modeling right now, so you can't see it, but it's there and it's keeping me beautiful. Maybe, as we're all now working from home, WFH, maybe it's getting those bottomless work trousers or bottomless work clothes again. This Christmas, though, seems just that little bit different. I mean, first of all, it's actually happening, or at least it seems like it's going to happen this Christmas, bar another press conference. And actually, thinking about it, last year, where were you? I was here. Nobody else was here. You all decided not to come on our carol service or even on our Chris Dingle service last year. I was Billy No Mates, but it is so great to see you here. Last year, we were talking about tiers, and we were going down the tiers faster than the baggies were dropping down the tables. We were talking about bubbles and support bubbles and all that kind of stuff. A new language was coming in. And we were all about parties, supposedly, especially if your postcode happens to be SW1A2AA, in which case you weren't just in your support bubbles, you were popping bubbles coming out of bottles left, right, and center. This Christmas Day, it's kind of happening, but we're still kind of working these things through. So we're still searching, and maybe you're searching for that mythical, perfect Christmas roast recipe. You know, it's the same basic bird every year, but somehow there's got to be a different way of cooking it this year. Maybe you're searching for, actually, what is eggnog, and is it even edible? But maybe also, for some of us now, what we're starting to search for is, what's the next Greek letter in the alphabet after Omicron? Will there be lockdown 3.0? How deadly is COVID? So perhaps, not surprisingly, the last 2 years have left us searching, wanting to go a little bit deeper. We like the trivia, we like the tinsel, but actually maybe this year, we're open to going that little bit deeper, asking some more profound kind of questions. Bigger questions about life, about belief, about spirituality, about faith, and what it all actually means. What if your presence here today, either in the room or online, wasn't an accident? What if your presence here today was because actually part of the bigger story of life, something is stirring within you? There's actually looking out, searching for those deeper questions. Let's get back to that Christmas search engine.
Norwegian tree skirts.
How many lights, one outlet?
Elf pajamas.
Dog singing Christmas carols.
Oh, hello.
What is Christmas really about?
I've got just the thing. An angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins.
So, Jesus?
Jesus.
May I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
How fix burnt ham?
Okay.
You know what? Forget it. Pizza delivery Christmas Eve.
No problem.
This reading is taken from Luke chapter 1, verse 26 to 35. In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favoured, the Lord is with you." Mary was greatly troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, "Don't be afraid, Mary. You have found favour with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of Most High. The Lord will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. His kingdom will never end." "How will this be?" Mary asked the angel, "since I am a virgin?" The angel answered, "The Holy Spirit will come on you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. So the Holy One will be born, the Son of God."
O little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie. Above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. Yet in thy dark street shineth the everlasting light. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. O morning stars together proclaim the holy birth, and praises sing to God the King, and peace upon the earth. For Christ is born of Mary, and gathered all above. While mortals sleep, the angels keep their watch of wondering love. How silently the wondrous gift is given. So God imparts to human hearts the blessings of his hand. No may is coming, but in this world of sin, where me souls will receive him still, that dear Christ enters in. O holy Lord of Bethlehem, distant to us we pray. Cast out our sin and enter in, be born in us today. We hear the Christmas angels, the great glad tidings tell. Oh, come to us, abide with us, our Lord Emmanuel.
In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in clothes and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them.
So these last 2 years have been such a challenge for everybody. Remember, stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives, the hunt for vaccines, getting ourselves on the waiting list, working out when our date was due based on our age profile, waiting 6 months, then 4 months, then 3 months for the follow-ups, boosters and so forth. And we've all become public school boy and girl educated people because we all now speak fluent ancient Greek like all good Etonians do. And so in some ways we've been educated through this process. But if we're honest, who hasn't at times felt fearful, full of fear, either for ourselves or more often for other people that we love? Maybe it's a relative, an elderly relative, or somebody that we know has a health condition that's meant they had to shield. And we've worried for them how they would be. Would they survive through this? For all of us, our mental health has been tested, stretched like no other year. Some of you, actually, before COVID, BC, actually you used to label yourself as having mental health challenges. But do you know what? You're here. 2 years later, you are still here, and you're realizing that maybe actually you've got more mental health resilience than you ever imagined. You're stronger than you ever gave yourself credit for. But then there's others who perhaps just assume that mental health struggles, well, that's what other people have. And here you are now, and you're worried about your own mental health, recognizing that you too have found it difficult during this time and become so much more aware of your own vulnerabilities. For other people, maybe it wasn't fear, but it was just the loneliness, the aching isolation, being shielded, kept away from others. For some of you, working from home, well, that's just been a great thing. You've been able to walk the dog a little bit more. You've been able to have a more flexible lifestyle, and it's all been great. But actually, for those of you that live on your own, it's felt sometimes more like a prison sentence, being put into solitary confinement, where actually all the time, day and night, being on your own. 2,000 years ago, Mary and Joseph were going through some of the very similar kind of experiences, struggles with fear and with loneliness. They were living under military occupation. And sometimes when we think of the Roman soldiers, we think of their lovely little pretty red tunics and that they gave us roads and hot tubs, and it all seems very kind of beautiful and jolly. But we forget that they, as a Roman army, were brutal. Empires always are brutal in the way that they project power by oppressing those that they take over. So, over the Christmas season, there's all sorts of film repeats, and you're probably going to see Spartacus at some point, a classic film. It's actually based on real history. In 73 BC, Spartacus, the ex-gladiator, and his rebellion tried to stand up against the Romans. The Romans crushed them, utterly crushed them. So much so, they executed 6,000 of the rebels. They didn't just execute them, they crucified them. And to make it absolutely clear to the whole population, you don't dare mess with the Romans, they put a crucifix of one of these rebellious rebels every 30 meters along the Appian Way. It's a 125-mile road. That's the equivalent of one crucifixion every 30 meters from this spot here all the way to Leeds. You don't mess with the Roman army. And when Jesus was born, baby Jesus, whilst others were celebrating, Herod was trying to keep hold of his power. And what does he do? He issues an edict that every single baby and toddler boy from the age of 0 to 24 months should be killed. If that was happening in the UK, that will be the equivalent of 720,000 babies and toddlers being executed, killed. You don't mess with the Roman army. So when they issued a census, an edict that you have to travel back to your birthplace, of course Mary and Joseph take up that. They go, and Mary is pregnant. She's heavily pregnant. She's not only heavily pregnant, she's a teenage, heavily pregnant girl. How difficult will that kind of be? The nativity plays that we see in schools have always got that great line, haven't they, about there being no room at the inn. The reason why there was no room at the inn in those nativity plays is because Joseph's family had shunned Mary and Joseph. They don't want anything to do with them. And when a young couple arrive, vulnerable, nervous, terrified, they find the families closing their doors to them one after the other. That's why they're going looking for somewhere for accommodation. That's how they end up in the stable. Because their family, who should have been welcoming them, loving them, including them, were instead heaping shame upon them. Maybe you feel that for Mary and Joseph today. Maybe you've experienced something of that in your own life. But you know, separately, both Mary and Joseph come to the same conclusion. They hear the same voices. Don't be fearful. Don't be afraid. Why? Because the Lord is with you. In their fear and in their loneliness, God comes and says, I am with you. And what he says 2,000 years ago, he says to us today. And you who perhaps have experienced something of fear or anxiety or loneliness during this lockdown season, God comes to you also and says, don't be fearful. I am with you. Jesus gets lots of names, lots of nicknames. One of them is Emmanuel, and it means God with us. So every time you hear that phrase Emmanuel, know this: God is with us. He is with you.
When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let's go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about." So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger. When they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had heard and seen, which were just as they had been told.
All of this could just be a lovely story. A great nativity, a great excuse for a party. Of course, it's not a party, is it? We all know that. It's just a gathering. Of course it is. But here we are, and then we're in year... What year are we in? 2021. 2021 AD. And the reason why it's 2021 AD is because 2021 years ago, something so remarkable, so earth-shattering happened that the entire world said, "Stop the clock. Reset your calendars. Put it all back to year zero. From now on, this point here will be the point that we will measure everything either before or after. BC, before Christ. AD, Anno Domini, after Christ." And what was that event? It was the coming of a baby Jesus. Now, the birth of every baby is always special, and we've had the great joy of seeing that happen here. Not physically necessarily, but in our church community of new births arriving. And maybe in your extended family or in your street or your apartment block, you've known the joy of seeing other people welcome in a new baby. How joyful that is. And of course, the arrival of a baby changes the world of the parent or carer completely. Life is never again the same for that parent or carer. And if you are a parent or a carer, you sometimes probably struggle to imagine there ever was a time before the little what's-it was with you. Life is changed completely for you. Jesus comes, and he comes to reset the clock, to give everybody a fresh start, to put life back to point zero for us. We've been singing Away in a Manger, and it's got some very sweet little words, isn't it, about no crying he makes. I mean, really, come on. When was the last time you saw a baby that didn't cry? Of course Jesus cried. But this baby is going to grow into adult Jesus, who is going to change the world forever. So much so that a bunch of people in North Birmingham, on the North Birmingham-Sutton Coldfield border, would gather together in 2021 to celebrate his arrival. You see, Jesus comes, and he comes to live such a different life, to turn the world upside down with his radical teaching, to welcome and include people that religious uptight authorities excluded, to show grace, mercy, compassion, and love. So much so that when people hung out with him, and they loved hanging out with Jesus, it made them feel good. Even more than that, it got them to think, it's like I'm in the presence of God when I'm with this Jesus. And they began to associate this Jesus with God. Strange that. And this Jesus comes to change lives. Not just Mary and Joseph's life, but my life, your life, our lives together. And that wooden crib, that manger in a stable, that wooden box, would become, within 30 years, a wooden cross. And just as Spartacus and 6,000 rebels had been nailed to a cross, so this Jesus would do the same. And do so to show his utter, relentless love and compassion. And what he does there is he nails fear and loneliness. What Jesus doesn't do is take away people's fear and loneliness. Mary and Joseph, after the birth of Jesus, must have still been fearful and lonely, isolated. The Roman army was still in control. But now, God with them, in their fear, in their loneliness. And so when you choose to reach out to this Jesus, the source of your fear and loneliness doesn't go away. COVID doesn't suddenly stop because you choose to follow Christ. But you discover that in your fear, in your loneliness, I am with you. Emmanuel, God with you. How powerful is that? In your seats in front, there's a little pocket. You've got to do a little bit of digging now, because I want you to go find one of these. There's a little slip in each one of those pockets in front of you. Dig around. It's very simple. It just says, God is with you. God is with you. And in a moment, we're going to sing, O come, Emmanuel. That was reminding us that God is with us, but he's also with you. But before we do that, I'm going to lead us in a short reflection and prayer. What I suggest you do is you pray with your eyes open and hold this in your hands. God, at this Christmas time, we celebrate the gift of Jesus to us. That the God who was everywhere became somewhere in Jesus. Thank you that in Jesus we get to see what you, God, are really like. Your true self, gracious, loving, merciful, compassionate. Thank you that even in the midst of our fear and our loneliness, you are with us. You are with me. As you read this simple statement, God is with you, just allow your mind to linger on the different words. Who is it that is with you? God is with you. The source of all reality, the author of life, God is with you. God is with you. Whether you feel it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you think you deserve it or not, God is with you. Not based on your feelings. God is with you. God is with you. Not just remote, not just an ideology, a doctrinal statement, or even a religious tradition. God is with you. In your most anxious moments, when all else seems so bleak, God is with you. When you feel most lonely, alone, when you're unsure of others, God is with you. And God is with you. He's not just with the holy types, the usual religious suspects. He's with you. Right here, right now. Just allow the truth of that to settle with you. God is with you this Christmas, in this moment. Emmanuel, God is with you. We're going to hear, O come, Emmanuel. Feel free to join in. But I'm going to invite us to remain seated for this. By all means, sing along, or simply allow the words to minister to you. Or maybe you just want to sit there in silence with this little card and just allow the truth of this. God is with you this Christmas.
That
It's at this point that I will be saying to you that stay on afterwards for mince pies and mulled wine. But in the light of the current climate, we've taken the decision over the last 24 hours to postpone that. So we will do mince pies and mulled wine, but we will do it at a point when it is safer to do so. And so thank you for your grace in that. Coming up, we have got the Chris Engel service on Christmas Eve at 4:30 here that Caris, our children and families worker, will be leading. Expect great joy and creativity as we make our Chris Engels. Christmas Day, the big day. If you want to escape your guests, send your guests, do whatever with your guests, then we are here at 10:30 in the morning. It is a short 35-minute service. It's an opportunity to mark the day, celebrate, and then continue with our festivities elsewhere. This is the first of 2 Christmas carol services. The second one will be taking place this evening, 6 o'clock here. It's exactly the same format, and it means that if you've seen this and you think, do you know what, I know somebody who needs to be here, you have still got the best part of 7 hours to get an invitation out to somebody to invite them to come this evening. It'll be darker, it'll perhaps a little bit even more atmospheric, but we would love to fill this place later on today. And if you've been watching online this morning and you thought, you know what, maybe I could just sneak in the back and see what it's like in real time, then you too would be very welcome indeed. Let's stand, though, for our final carol as we sing together. Hark the herald, angels sing. If anything has resonated with you this morning, do talk to somebody that you've come with. Alternatively, I have an addiction for coffee, and I quite like a pint of beer as well. So if you ever fancy meeting up for a coffee or a beer just to chat things through, then I am more than up for that. I've got some cards so you know how to contact me. All that remains to say, though, is this. For 2021, have a merry, blessed Christmas. Happy Christmas.